if it was as easy as just filling up the coolant system and firing it up, then I would have done that a long time ago. My old radiator was chock full of crap, including mud dauber wasps, and this overflow pipe right here was completely clogged. It was probably clogged about halfway. Andy ran a pipe down through here and cleaned it out really well. Used a hose attachment on the end, shot some water through it. I don't have an air compressor, but he did a great job on that. Awesome job, Andy. And now my overflow works. That was full of mold because it wasn't getting sucked back into the system. It was just sitting there stagnant water, so it started growing mold in there. So that's a good sign if you got mold in there that your overflow pipe is... Okay, you can see how pervasive this rust is. And that's actually just some oxidation in there, but that rust. Actually, it looks like it's starting to oxidize in there, but if you think something looks different, you would be right. I've gone back to the stock intake, took out my shiny bling bling, went back to the stock air filter. That's a junkyard air filter, air box, and I also have a junkyard air filter, which is a brand new air filter. One of the reasons I picked up this box and did not get the manual VAF, and this is an automatic MAF from a junkyard, is because this MAF looks brand new, or this sensor at least looks brand new. If you look inside, everything looks brand new, and the filter is brand new. So my guess is the reason that this car went to the junkyard was because it was having some MPG starting issue, stalling issue, something like that. In order to fix it, they put in a new MAF, brand new MAF. And I saw that the junkyard, snagged it. Also got a free air filter with it. This is my original one I kept. That's why it's a good reason to keep your old parts just in case you ever want to go back, and I did, and I kept it, and good for me, and moving on. Still have to connect up some of the sensors. It looks like my ECT, no, that's IAT, how about that? And the IAT, stock IAT, gets plugged in back there. And both Prince Valorum and ND28 said the neutral safety switch, which you can't really see here, it's on about right here, but on the back side of the transmission over there, right underneath of the input shaft for this side, the input shaft that goes into the transmission. You have one axle going in this side and one axle going in this side, and right below that is your neutral safety switch, and you don't even need that if you have the automatic ignition system. I'm still going with my automatic distributor, ignition control module, and ignition coil, and all of that combined with the automatic ECU should send the firing time. And I haven't messed with the timing or anything with the engine, so all that should still be good, and it should fire right up. Pray to God it does, because if it doesn't, I don't know. But in the meantime, distilled water with CLR, try and run the system and flush it. Now you can pour it either in here or in your radiator overflow, and it doesn't matter. I've taken out the thermostat. You should probably use a funnel with this. I don't actually have a spill-free funnel with me. It is elsewhere in the world right now. Gallon number 2. It's going to take you about 2 gallons. $1.7 liters. That's about right. Or actually, I think it's supposed to be 7.3 liters, which comes out to be about 1.7 gallons. I haven't tried starting it up. Put the coolant in. I've got, what, 2 years invested in this project? It's a lot of time. If it blows up, then I'm screwed. So, just cross fingers. Okay, first off, the power windows don't work. My fuel pump relay. Andy? Good old NFO2. Try this again. See, but I didn't hear my starter click. That worries me. Okay, so the AC will kick on. AC works. Power windows don't work. And the starter's not clicking. It's just not even wanting to go. I have my ignition coil, ignition control module hooked up. Transaxle range switch. Maybe I got the range switch in the wrong position. Now they work. Guess what? Guess. Just guess.
No gas?
No gas. Gas will be good. Most of that sound is coming from the exhaust because I don't really have my exhaust connected at the header. It's kind of loose. Andy did a good job of putting some muffler sealant on it, but where it connects to the downpipe directly below here, I just finger tight. I didn't clamp those down because I still have to put an asbestos gasket there as well as down there. So those two parts of my exhaust system are running without gaskets. There should be either metal gaskets or asbestos type gaskets, homemade ones. And I have a video on making your own homemade asbestos gasket out of a sheet of asbestos. So I still have to go back and do that, and that's why it's so loud. But as you can see, my tack works. Then the RPMs raise up. I'm not really overheating. That looks so good. The OD blinking on and off is just a symptom of the automatic swap. I'm gonna have to address that eventually in the future. Yeah, I'm pretty low on gas. As you can see, that was one of the problems. I wasn't starting. But one of the issues is my brake pedal is really spongy. I mean, it's not really working quite right. And that's because we didn't bleed the brakes. And I still have to go through and do that. And then pressed this brake pedal a couple hundred times, I'm guessing, and bleed the air out of the lines. I'm guessing there is air in the brake lines. And I can make that a video for another day. But in the meantime, I mean, she's up and running as a manual. I have not tried to shift any gears yet or try rolling her out because I have no brakes. I'm sure I'm going to have no brakes or very little brakes. I'm not going to take this out on the road. It's not street legal yet, or road worthy, I should say, at the very least. Yeah, so she's running. She's up and running. Oh, and I have the heat on. Put your heat on. Make sure your AC is off. Put the heat on full blast. And that way you make sure that all of your coolant is cycling through your heater core, which is back behind the dash on either side. It's like right back there kind of thing. And that just looks like a tiny little radiator. It's probably, I don't know, it's about as big as that, really, as far as width. And about as square as this dash kind of thing, and it's just back in there, and then it's got a couple loops like a radiator. And that's basically what your heater core looks like, and it's back there. It's got a whole bunch of fins that go through it as well. And I have a replacement heater core that I actually got off of Racer X, Team Metroplex, that are racing the 626 with Xenomorph. So I got part of a 66 race car coming. That's pretty neat. So we're looking good so far. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on the heat. The fans are kicking on, the fans are coming on, and I've got the flush CLR running through the system right now, and I'm surprised that it's not overheating. And my only guess is the reason that it's not overheating like it was is because of the job that Andy did on that coolant overflow pipe. Got most of the crap out of there, and now I'm just kind of cleaning it up, doing post-clog work. One thing that did happen is my brake switch does not quite work right. There's a lot of little electrical issues here and there, and I'll be going over those in future videos that have nothing to do with the swap. Those are just going to be general repair videos, because as you can see, this swap's done. We're up and running. The rest should be easy from here, right? Whoa. Okay, I didn't like that. Wanted to hang up. But those are just some little issues that I have to clear up here and there. So far so good. Pretty good. Alright, a couple points here. The vehicle speed sensor on the i4 automatic is the same exact sensor as the one on the i4 manual transmission, so they just plug right in together. No problems there. The turbine speed sensor for the automatic, I'm going to leave that alone for now. The transaxle range sensor, that's in park. That's working great. Great suggestion, Jumba. Thank you very much for that. The clutch and neutral safety switch, that is unplugged and just dangling for right now. No problem to getting the car started without that in. The MAF, I'm using the automatic MAF with the automatic ignition system. Everything is automatic except for the actual transmission is a manual transmission. How cool is that? Got an automatic ignition system, fuel system with the manual transmission. Good stuff. For those of you who might be wondering, well, what happened after you flush it, simply drain it into a container. There's my jugs. Immediately refill with distilled water, and I'm just going to leave that sit overnight. So I've already got the flush out, the CLR crap out. There's still a little bit left in there, but I'm not going to mess with that anymore for tonight. I did not drain all the coolant out on the ground. As you can see, it's all wet. I just used the hose under there because it's been so dirty, and I haven't worked on the car for so long that it's all sandy under there. So every time I get under the car to do something, my head's all full of sand in my hair and crap. So I just sprayed that down because I'm probably going to end up getting under there tomorrow and inspecting for leaks. I know there's a leak at the thermostat housing, but that's because I took out the thermostat, and the thermostat actually has the rubber seal around the thermostat itself. It's not the housing. And I'll get back to it tomorrow, and we'll see where we're at tomorrow. Well, I started running it again, and sprung a leak after about 5 minutes of idle. You can see it down there. Look at that. And it was pouring out when the system was fully pressurized. So I'm gonna have to take all this stuff off and find the source of the leak, figure out what's going on with that. I think I found the culprit. And this hose I forgot to put back on. It actually goes up there. But this still looks like it's leaking, so I might need to try and find a new little hose right here. This little piece here. And that's going to be like a $2 part. Maybe not even that, maybe like a 50-cent hose kind of thing. But I have to wait till the cooling system cools down and then drain the radiator and take this hose off and take that to the parts store and just get another part and put it back on and refill and reflush. Well, the radiator repair did not hold up. It held up for a little bit, but yeah, it is leaking profusely. So I'm gonna have to take another look at that, and more than likely I'm just gonna need another new radiator, and that's totally my fault because I'm a freaking moron. Oh, and my power steering compressor is making whine, really loud whine. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to check the power steering fluid, power steering pressure switch. I know the power steering pressure switch is okay because I tested that, and all that does is it's just a continuity test, so that's really easy. Sucky sucky day, sucky sucky. Well, I am done working on the car for this week until I can get a new radiator because the radiator blew, and there's no fixing that. The epoxy or the JB weld that we put on the radiator, after it reaches a certain temperature, becomes malleable. Somewhat like rubber, and the pressure of the radiator just bust right through it, and then started spewing out coolant. So JB weld, not for radiators. Lesson learned for anyone out there that's thinking about patching their radiator with JB weld. It's not going to work. I'm not sure what would work. You're just going to need a new radiator. It's as simple as that. You're going to have to bite the bullet and bite the cost. But that's how it goes sometimes. I have my moments like anyone else. I can be a moron, and that was my moment of shame, I guess. Maybe I'll submit that one to Eric the car guy about stupid crap people do, because that was pretty stupid. I wish I had a video of me hammering on it like a freaking monkey. Just hammer, 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 and then split. It was just the dumbest thing I've ever, not ever, but it's one of the dumbest things I've ever done. To add insult to injury, Andy walked out right when I was doing it and saw me split it. Those are the kind of impressions that you can't take back, you know. Yeah, I mean, he comes up here and helps me work on my car, and you know, he thinks a lot of me, and then to see me do that must have been a real downer for him. But you know what? I'm not a mechanic. I make mistakes. And you live and learn, and I will never ever do that one again. This is the coolant that I took out of my system. So I'll see you next week, and through the magic of video editing, it is now next week. And here we are a week later. My new radiator has arrived, and I've unpacked it, and it comes with this bag of hardware, these retaining clips, which get mounted in here, and here, then 2 up there, 2 on the other side. So there are 6 in total. But if you look close, you'll notice the 2 of these are actually different. And the difference is fairly minute. You can see this is raised up just a little bit more. It's because this one goes on the top. There are 2 for the top of the radiator. And then these would slide into the sides there. And I think that's what my problem was when I broke it, was I was actually trying to use one of these, which is not going to slide easily in there, and I ended up hammering it and breaking it. On my other radiator, which is currently still in the car, let's see, I cracked it from about here all the way down here. That crack was about that long, and JB weld did not hold up. I was really hoping that it would, but the epoxy just gets soft like rubber and ends up springing a leak. So as you can see, this is actually the automatic, because of these transmission cooler lines. That's not really a big deal for a manual transmission owner because you're not even going to use those. Those just stay plugged up. But if you're an automatic owner and you accidentally get the manual transmission radiator that does not have these two plugs, you will have to return it and get one that has those two plugs because your transmission cooler lines use those two. Now I'm going to install the mounting hardware, and there should be little ridges, so you just push these on here like so. Wow, this one is much easier. The last one I had these little ridges, so you had to put them inside of a groove and that groove was really hard to put in there, and that one just slid right on. This was much easier than the last one that I had to do. That last one probably took me and Andy an hour just to put all of those on because it was because of those stupid little grooves. And as you can see, I just put that on in 2 seconds, and that's the way it should be in my opinion. It should just slide right on there, really easy. And then your mounting screws go through here, and that's what holds your radiator in place. So I'm going to get that done. Okay, now that I have the other fan out, I can show you the difference in the clip styles. Now, both of these were purchased from Rock Auto. This was purchased as the ATX, and my other one over there is purchased as the MTX. But they are identical. They're the same exact one except for these clips. A little bit different style. But inside of here are grooves which these clips go in, and as you can see right here, all this JB weld, this one wouldn't go in, and my assumption is because it actually belongs up there, or originally did, and Andy fixed this. Did a really good job. It's just my fault that the whole thing cracked and it started spewing out from around this area, which there was not a crack over here. The crack was on this side, so it must have been forced through the JB weld on that side, kind of thing. C'est la vie. First thing you want to do when you remove your radiator is to remove these brackets. Real simple, 14 millimeter. That's not the bolt. The 14 millimeter actually goes on here, and I have the nut removed right now. Upper radiator hose, lower radiator hose. All of these clips are supposed to be on snug. As you can see, this one's kind of loose, and the same thing for this. This side you want the longer piece on the outside because this is where your radiator fan shroud is going to sit in, and that's all it's held down on this corner by. It's just held in place. But as you can see, this thing is really loose. So what you do for that is you just take a pair of pliers and you crimp it until it's tight, and then you install it. In order to reinstall the fans, you have to get this little tab into the fastener down here. Just should slide right in. Make sure you don't cross thread these bolts. These are 10 millimeters. That's all there is to installing your radiator fans. It's basically just 2 bolts. I should mention that these are 2 different size fans. On the 5th gen, this is all one assembly. It's not 2 separate fans. It's just one with 2 fans. One shroud with 2 fans. This is 2 fans with 2 shrouds. And this one is your AC compressor fan, also known as your compressor fan. And this one is your primary cooling fan, or your transmission or engine cooling fan. And this one should kick on when your car warms up. This one will kick on when you turn on your AC. But this one is slightly smaller than this one. They also have a slightly different fan blade design. So if you're looking in a junkyard, make sure you get the right one, because this one will not work over here. You can't have 2 of the same because it's not going to mount up correctly. The mounting holes aren't going to match up. I don't know if it's possible to use a 5th gen fan assembly on a 4th gen, or vice versa. You could probably rig it up so that you could use that if you're in a pinch. So something to keep in mind. If you're wondering about these 2 top mounting holes, these will get used when we install it in the car. And let's go do that. Now I recommend that if you have your lower radiator hose off the car, or off your radiators, to go ahead and install your lower radiator hose onto the radiator. It'll make it a lot easier than trying to have to put your hand way down inside of there to connect that. So go ahead and connect this lower hose. And if you take it off the car and you can't remember which side is which, it's usually going to be the side that's more rusted, because coolant will end up rusting this metal clip. As you can see, this one's nice and silver, and this one was on the top. That one's on the bottom. Okay, and when you install the lower hose, make sure that this is kind of pointing up on an angle. You don't want this pointing straight up, so that if you have to take it off in the future, it's going to be a little bit easier to get to with the long handled 90-degree pliers. So we're ready to install. You're going to have to push this hose down below your AC compressor hose line. Okay. And there are rubber mounts on the bottom that have plastic dowels that have to go down in there, so that you make sure that it's seated correctly. There's a slightly different design on the bottom of these. This one has a point and no rubber. Right there. And this one is cut squared off, and this one has brand new rubber. And that's just to prevent vibration. It's a vibration dampener. But I forgot to take out the old ones. And that goes on to the pointed one. So make sure that you get out your old ones, and then it should fit. Okay, and then after that you get your overflow line. And this bracket goes on here, right over those top two mounting bolts. Should fit. Other side here, and that gets plugged into your radiator cap fixture thingy. Just because of the layout, dimensions, everything's not going to be exact. I had to bend this overflow bar bracket out just a little bit, use my robo grips in order to do that. The little clips that they give you to go in here are 8mm. So if you have existing 10mm, you're going to have to swap them out for 8mm. I'm going to get my hammer and pound this down, because this rubber piece is supposed to be contacting the radiator. Give it a little bit more support, and it keeps it away from chafing up against these screws up here. Now we're nice and secure. Then connect your overflow hose from your overflow to your overflow pipe. Then connect the other overflow hose. Lastly, connect your radiator hose. And there's a little tab stop here to prevent you from putting the hose on too much. Connect your lower radiator hose. Same thing. There's a tab stop to prevent it from going too much on there. And if you don't have any silicone spray, which is the stuff Eric the car guy recommends, just use a little bit of PB Blaster. Get your 90-degree clamps. These things work brilliantly. By the way, I highly recommend everyone pick up a set of these. These things are awesome. And then you lube up the metal in it. And it'll just kind of wiggle it right on top there. Ta-da. Just do the other side. And make sure that your petcock down below, if you get a new radiator, is tightened. Go ahead and do that. Yep, tight. And now that we have the radiator installed, we're good to start filling it up. That's how you install a radiator. Okay, now we're ready to begin filling the car. We're going to fill it with distilled water. And it should take a little less than 2 gallons. Now that we have the Radiator all filled up. Just make sure you check your factory specs for how much to fill your radiator, and we're good to go. I think it's about time we fired it up. And that pretty much completes the ATX, the MTX swap. Part 10, done. If you have any questions or comments about the entire swap procedure, anything I've done along the way, feel free to shoot me a comment or a private message, doesn't matter. Again, I'm not a mechanic, I'm a DIYer. I don't know how to do this stuff. I don't do this stuff professionally. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so if I can do it, you can do it. We're done. Peace.